What's up guys, Mike Thomas, aka the Young Trishula here. Today, I want to talk about the future of Dragon Link. As many of you know, the TCG recently received an update to the Forbidden and Limited list that severely hit a number of critical pieces of the Dragon Link engine. And recently, I dropped a video of some combos that the deck will be capable of following the release of Darkwing Blast. And in that video, I promised to provide a combo tutorial for the most powerful end board that I have found so far in the deck if that video reached 500 likes. Once again, you guys have crushed that goal within the first 24 hours. So, once again, I am back with my chat. They're here. I've finally figured out where to point to show off what this deck is capable of. As always, be sure to like and subscribe. If you do enjoy this kind of content, it really does help me out a lot and lets me know to keep making more of it. Also, if you're looking to get better at the game and want to support me, I do offer coaching sessions through Metafy. I love helping people get better at the game, and I know from personal experience that sometimes the best way to do so is through a one-on-one approach. I recently found out that I'm within the top 15% of coaches on their platform, so definitely check me out on there if you think that is something you might be interested in. Anyway, without wasting any more of your time, let's get into it. So where we left off was this was the end board that I had teased in the prior video, being a Seal, a Savage, a Borland, and the obvious IP into Unicorn with the potential for up to 4 cards before you start your next turn. For a little bit of background as to what this end board is, chat and I were just messing around and just trying to figure out what this deck was capable of at its best potential. So I was just drawing random combinations of cards and testing them together, and I came up with this off of fishbowling a 3-card combo. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to refresh this, and you guys can see exactly how I got to this end board. And then after that, I'm going to recreate this end board using a dedicated 3-card combo that will recreate this end board guaranteed. So the 3-card combination that I was just testing out when we stumbled into this end board was I was testing out what you might be able to do when you open Seifert, Lubellion, and a Byssted. This was building off of the earlier combo where you open Seifert plus Lubellion, but instead of using Seifert to search the Magnamut, I wanted to see what would happen if I just already drew it. So to start things off, I used Byssted Lubellion to search the Saronir. This gives me 2 Byssted names in my opening hand, and then I used the Seifert to go for Collapse Serpent, summoning it out and getting the Striker Dragon, adding Boot Sector, and then here I'm skipping some steps because we were just testing things out for this replay. So, but as you can see, we went link up into the Striker Dragon, grab the Boot, search Wyver, summon Wyver, and then link those 2 off for Romulus. So if you were confused, that's just what we were doing there. And the whole idea for behind what I wanted to try was what would happen when we had 2 dragons plus 2 Bysteds. So two dragons, 2 Bysteds. I want to see what would happen. So we get to this state, and I summon out the Magnamut by banishing the Striker, and then the Magnamut is going to trigger here, and that's what this token is doing, is just reminding me that we get a search in our end phase. Then I summon out the Byssted Saronir, and here I play the Dragon Ravine, and I dump the Absolrator, get the Tracer, but then I have a little bit of a Brain Blast, and what I do is I actually course correct, and I say, let's try dumping Darkus Diabolos and see what happens instead if we summon Darkus Diabolos. So instead, I overlaid for the Heretic King of Entomb, detach the Saronir, which would, on detach, send the Rebranded, and then I summon the Absolrator from my deck. I then linked off for Heretic Seals because I wanted to think about how this deck could potentially play through hand traps, and so I said, okay, we have extra material here, let's make a Heretic Seal, right? And obviously, we have the ability to make the Heretic Seal there because if we get Nibiru'd before making the Heretic Seal, it's going to trigger the Absolrator, right? So I tribute off the Absolrator for the Lubellion, and because a dark monster was tributed off of my field, I'm able to trigger the Darkus Diabolos, and then the Absolrator, because it was sent to the graveyard, gets me the Rocket Tracer. I then can special the Tracer from my hand by popping Boot, and then I do overlay here, but I think I correct this later, just like as I was going through the line. You should then use the Byssted Lubellion to activate Branded Beast from your deck, but I overlaid those 2 for the Zombie Vampire. Yep, so there's the Branded Beast that I just forgot to activate before I put the just on the field. And then the zombie vampire, I activated its effect and just detached, you know, just so that we could see how RNG might affect this combo. Obviously, you don't have to go for zombie vampire here because you could use these two bodies to link off into something anyway. And then we milled a red MD, and milling the red MD was pretty huge because I summon back the red MD. That gets me one extra body. I then go for the Pisty, and I use the red MD to reborn, just freeing up some zones here. And then I made the quad boral. Pisty can get back any dark dragon, but I chose to summon back Safer because we just had an extra dark dragon on the field with the red MD. But normally I feel like you would probably summon back a dark dragon. And then I went for Delindrous, and then we summoned the IP Masquerena because we had two bodies still floating. And then I used the quad boral to pop the Delindrous, and that is going to build you up into a boral end plus a savage because you're going to have the Delindrous coming back plus two bodies. So you'd link off the quad boral plus the Delindrous. Yep, and that's just me correcting the board state. As you can see, this combo was very much just me playing off the cuff. This wasn't me creating a specific combo path. But the quad boral pop Delindrous is always going to be savage plus boral end, so I just get those two cards out, put them on the board. And then I used the Seifert because we hadn't used the Seifert add back from the graveyard. Grab back the Chaos Emperor. So we could have Chaos Emperor added back, you know, anything from here. We could have gone back to Seifert or whatever. But then, you know, we're just piecing together what the rest of the board would be. Branded Beast would get back the rebranded. You would search your Druid Worm, you know, and then Druid Worm would get you a banish, and that would trigger rebranded, getting you a draw. When they normal or special summon, you know, you get the rebranded to reborn the Magnamut that's in the graveyard, and the Magnamut would get you a search in your end phase again. The IP can go for either Apollo, which wasn't in my extra deck, so I think I linked those off just to, you know, mention to chat, you know, you could go for Apollo there if it's in your extra deck, but we're just gonna pretend like we don't have it. And then you could go for the Unicorn instead to get a spin, so that gives you an additional spin on top of your bounce, so that would give you a spin. And because it's co-linked, you would draw a card, so I discarded the Ash, I drew another card. And then Branded Beast would be able to tribute off the Druid Worm to give you two pops as well. So, and then because that tributes a dark monster, your Darkest Diabolos would trigger and it would come back as well. And I think this is how we got here. So this is pretty much the end of the replay. So that's 4 monster disruptions. That is 1 with Seal, 1 with IP, Unicorn, and then 2 with Branded Beast plus Druid Worm. And then you still have Borland plus Savage, which is pretty big. And then that also gets you a draw, a DD Crow effect, and a search in your end phase, as well as cards in your hand. Obviously, we were able to add back a card because we had Seifert in play. We were able to add back a level 8. So if this was like 2 dragons, but you like didn't have the Seifert specifically, you'd be missing like 1 card. But otherwise, this was 2 dragons, 2 Byssted, and then we found an extender through RNG, which is how I got here. So this was technically a 4-card combo. However, I spent a good amount of time with chat to deliver this board in a way that was better than a 4-card combo. I got it down to a 3-card combo to make the same board. So I want to get into that and show that off. Okay, so the 3-card combination that I came up with that will replicate this end board every time is Starlight Seifert plus Byssted Lubellion, which is a pretty standard 2-card combination, plus the funny card that I put in the deck. So many comments told me, oh, it's bricks. Don't put in the bricky card. Don't put in bricky card. It adds nothing to deck. Well, look what it adds. It makes the full board. Who thinks bricky card bad now? Bricky card make full board. Bricky card good. So the full combo is Starlight Seifert plus Lubellion plus the Melody of Awakening Dragons. This is a 3-card combo that will get you everything because Melody does set up everything that you need to go right. Obviously, if you're playing this out, there are probably multiple different ways to get here, but this is just a simple 3-card combination that I found that will guarantee you the board that I advertised. I'm also choosing, just as our blank cards, I'm choosing Nibiru rather than Ash Blossom. I'm choosing Nibiru specifically because it is a light, because I'm sure if I use Ash Blossom, there will be somebody who will say something along the lines of, you have 1 less card in your hand, this is false advertising, yada yada yada, and I don't want to read those comments. I don't want to read that comment. So I'm using the Nibiru. Just understand that you can discard anything for Melody, but if you discard a light or a dark, you get an extra card in your hand. So just understand that when watching this combo. So we're gonna start with Byssted Lubellion, getting the Byssted Saronir. This is pretty standard if you've seen the Seifert Lubellion combos before. We're then gonna use Melody to search Darkest Diabolos, as well as the Chaos Emperor. So again, and it's usually best to order it in this way just to make your opponent fear Gamma, or to try and make them play into Gamma, which does give you free extenders, which is always nice. So then we'll normal summon the Starlead Safer and use Starlead Safer to tribute out the Saronir. It is important that we are doing it this way and not pitching the Saronir off of Melody of Awakening Dragons, and you'll see why in a second. So this will search out the Byssted Magnamut, and this will guarantee that you get your follow-up and get your extra search during the end phase. So it's very important that you search Magnamut here. And then the Byssted Saronir will trigger its effect since it went to the graveyard, and it will send Rebranded. Now we'll link off into the Striker Dragon. Striker Dragon will get us a search. This all, again, baits for hand traps too. You know, people like to stop Dragon Link at lots of different points, so you know, they might imperm us on the Striker Dragon, who knows. We'll then special summon out our Byssted Magnamut, and this is very important. We will banish Byssted Saronir from our graveyard. If you banish any other card, this combo will not work. And Magnamut will trigger on summon, getting us our search, so we'll put our token to remind us. And the reason why you have to banish Saronir is because you need to activate your Chaos Emperor Dragon. Chaos Emperor Dragon will then add back the Byssted Saronir from banish to your hand, and because we haven't summoned it yet, we can now banish a card from our graveyard to special summon it. This is why I mentioned that we'll get an extra card if we discard a light or a dark off of Melody, because we wouldn't have to banish the Starlead Safer, and we can't really get it back with Pisty based on how the combo plays itself out. So now you control 2 level 6 dragon monsters. You can overlay them for the Heretic Dragon King of a Tomb, and you can use a Tomb's effect detaching a Byssted to summon Absolrator Dragon from your deck, which is pretty nice because it means that rather than going for Romulus, we can actually skip that step to save us some material and go straight into Heretic Seal. Now, I showed off in that previous combo that I did go for the Romulus. However, I don't think you have to. I don't think you have to go for Romulus, and you'll see why. So you'll then be able to just skip the step of going Romulus, immediately go for Lubellion. Lubellion tributes the Absolrator and also triggers the Absolrator plus the Darkest Diabolos in your hand. Now, this is one thing that I'll mention, is that if you do have an extra card, or if you have the Dragon Ravina already, you can use the extra resources at your disposal to put the Darkest Diabolos in your graveyard, maybe get some extra value out of it, because summoning it from your hand is not the best value that you could get, but it also is not terrible either. It's just there. So we'll summon the Darkest Diabolos, and we'll search our Rocket Tracer. Another thing to note is that if this Nibiru was just a dark attributed monster that you just aren't going to use or you don't need, you can always just tribute it with Darkest Diabolos to get a free hand rip here. So this board could be equipped fully with a hand rip as well, depending on, you know, how variables play out. Lubellion can then activate on the field to get us our branded beast and set up that part of the engine. That's really, really nice because this part of the engine gives us a lot of follow-up, even through like board breakers and hand traps, because now no matter what happens to our board, we have spell and traps that we can fall back on. So we can then activate the boot sector, special the Tracer. Tracer can then pop the boot sector, getting us Rocket Recharger, and this should all look pretty familiar at this point. We'll summon our Pisty, and then we can link these two off for the Quadboral Dragon. You can use the Pisty to summon back your Rocket Tracer now, and then you can go your Rocket Tracer and your Pisty into Delindrus. It's important to summon it in the zone that Heretic Seals points to and not the Quadboral zone, because the middle zone here is where we want to put our IP Masquerena. And now, if you remember Chaos Emperor, we don't lose that Chaos Emperor. It goes to our face-up extra deck, and now we can summon it from our face-up extra deck by banishing 2 cards from our graveyard. I'll choose a Tomb and Pisty, and then you have the option here to overlay into the Zombie Vampire, which I'll just do for the sake of the replay. Obviously, this is not necessarily recommended in a format full of Terralement, but I do just want to highlight that you do have this option, and it does allow you to preserve the Chaos Emperor for follow-up on the next turn. So I'll show this off. You will be able to use Zombie Vampire to mill. So here I do hit the Chaos Space, which is welcome, and we get our free body. So you would summon out your body, and the Chaos Space would get you an extra card. You can then link those two off, and if you did not go for Zombie Vampire, you could just skip the Zombie Vampire entirely and just link off the 2 level 8 bodies into the IP. You can then use the Safer in the Graveyard to add back one of your level 8 dragons. So in this route with the zombie vampire, you're able to add back any of the 3, being Byssted Lubellion, Darkus Diabolos, or Chaos Emperor. If you just hard link off or IP, you would have the choice of Byssted Lubellion versus Darkus Diabolos, so you probably get back the Byssted Lubellion just as a follow-up card. And it also provides you with a free discard as well. You then have the Quad Boral. I'm just going to pitch the Nibiru here to summon back your 2 rockets by popping Delindrus. Because a rocket was summoned while this was in the graveyard, Delindrus can summon itself back. You can then link off Quad Boral plus Delindrus and a rocket to make your Borland. Borland targets your remaining rocket, gets back your rocket, and you make Savage Dragon. So now you have the advertised end board of Seals, IP, Borland, Savage Negate, Branded Beast, and some cards for follow-up. And I will just go through and show all of that off. So here we would just check our graveyard for any applicable graveyard effects we could still use before we end our turn. Here we have Chaos Space, so we draw a card. Branded Beast triggers in the end phase, getting you back Branded, and then Magnamut would resolve and add the Druid Worm. Now, on the opponent's turn, when the opponent normal summons or special summons a monster for the first time, we get back our Magnamut. Magnamut would then trigger, getting us another search in our end phase. Since our opponent would then control a monster, we can use Druid Worm in the hand to banish from the graveyard. Because we banish the light or a dark monster, where Branded can put it back to our opponent's deck. We draw another card, and then our opponent does whatever. We have our interactions. You know, we could go for Apollo or IP here. We could go Seals Bounce. We have Branded Beast to tribute and pop 2. We have 2 negates. You have more interactions than they have cards, but somehow, if they make it to their end phase, the Magnamut would resolve and search any card, so we could search Levy to clear up whatever they have left, and then you draw for turn, and you're starting your next turn with potentially all of this, plus up to 5 cards in hand. So I think this is a really powerful end board, especially off of 3 cards. If your opponent doesn't open a hand trap and you open those 3 cards together, you pretty much know that you're going into the next game. I don't think anything is beating 4 monster pops plus an Omni Negate plus a non-respondable monster negate plus a graveyard banish plus 5 cards in hand on follow-up. I don't think there is any deck in the game that really wants to play through that. So I think this board is really, really strong. However, you might think that this board is strong. And while I do not have a stronger board to promise you guys this time, I will make you another promise, because you guys have been absolutely killing it with the light goals. I will make you another promise. I will make you another bargain. Trade offer. You give me 750 likes on this video, I will make a guide on how to play this deck through hand traps. That is my offer to you. If we get this video, the 3rd in the Byssted Dragonlink series, to 750 likes, I will drop a 4th video as a guide detailing how to play this deck through various hand traps and how to handle recovery and all of those great things. Because while this deck does seem fragile in these YouTube combos, I think it is actually very resilient and has a lot of ways to navigate through hand traps, just so long as you know how to pivot your lines. So I will put in the work to figure out how to pivot and how to play around hand traps and how to do that little dance very nicely. But to do so, I need from you guys 750 likes. If you can manage it, which I think you guys are capable of, I will make the guide. Anyway, guys, that's about all I have for you guys today. I hope that you enjoyed this continuation of the Byssted Dragonlink series. I've had a lot of fun making it, and I really just want to say I appreciate so much the support of the community, just, you know, giving me all the support. You guys have been absolutely crazy with smashing these like goals, and I really just want to say I appreciate it. But that is all I have for you guys today. Do remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you have not already done so. It really does help me out a lot, but I don't really have any more for you guys today, so I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you in the next one.